There's this idea that we got one calling in life, one lane, one identity. This is who I am. But what if that's not true? What if life isn't about one title, but about one purpose that evolves over time? Today's guest proves that reinvention isn't starting over. It's stepping deeper into who you've always been. She started in music, studying voice and double bass at Hamline University. She taught in Illinois and Washington, D.C., then pivoted into nursing, earning her RN at Harper College. Then pivoting into nursing, earning her RN at Harper College, spending 45 years serving patients, many in physical rehab. She became one of the first 6 parish nurses in the country. She is still serving through Baker Health System. She sings at First Presbyterian Church of Bradenton. She serves seniors through the Society of Certified Senior Advisors. And even in retirement, she built her own esthetician business, Faces of Time. But more than a resume, this is about purpose, faith, reinvention, and legacy. This is what Behind the Brand is all about. Welcome to the show, Margaret.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. How are you today?
I'm great. If I was any better, I'd be dancing on the ceiling.
There we go. There we go. Well, I heard that you had a client today.
I did.
Awesome.
I did. You ought to know her.
Yeah, I might. Yeah. My wife Cassandra was gracious enough to have a facial from you, and she enjoyed it. It seems like she feels like her skin is new again, and
Yeah.
I mean that's what it's all about is helping
is.
each other out and giving back to one another.
Right. Now it's your turn.
Yes, and in due time. I do have a question for you.
Okay.
I know that you do like to sing, so is there any chance that we can get you to sing the Good Morning song?
Oh, the Good Morning song. Sure. Good morning, it's grand to be on hand. Good morning to you, and you, and you, and you.
Perfect. Thank you. For those that don't know, Margaret and I have met over the course of the last month at Let's Connect in Bradenton, and every morning she starts our day off with a smile because of that song. So thank you, Margaret.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
We're going to start off with a few questions, get to know you a little bit, okay? So when did music kind of become your identity? When did that become part of your identity?
When I was very little, going to church with my aunt. I grew up in the Episcopal Church, and she insisted that I join the children's choir. So I did. I joined the children's choir. And then as life progressed and I got a little bit older, I sang in high school. And in the high school choir, part of the plays that we put on, the musicals, and it was a lot of fun. And I just keep singing. That's all.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, you mentioned your brother.
Yes.
It's one of those things where I have this habit of thanking every service member that comes up, either to myself or a family member. So honestly, on behalf of myself and my family, we thank your brother.
Thank you.
For his service.
He did. He was 19 and I was 10. He went into the Navy, was testing life preservers in Rhode Island, and had an accident. He doesn't remember whether he got pushed, slipped, or whatever happened, but the top of his head hit the bottom of the pool, and he became a quadriplegic.
Holy smokes.
So he went through many years of redefining who he was at 19, what was going to happen with his life, how was he going to go on, and went into various aspects of rehab. And then when he came home, he had a visiting nurse come to help him, who later became my sister-in-law. They did more visiting than nursing. But one of the things, my brother had a great voice. He was a bass and just had a wonderful voice. And so when I was tying his tie, now you have to imagine I'm standing behind him in the wheelchair, and I learned to tie a tie backwards so that I could tie his tie when he was sitting down and I was standing up behind him. And we used to sing the song. It's called the Whiff and Poof song. and we would harmonize. And that's where I still remember that song. To the table down at Maury's, to the place where Louis dwells, to the dear old temple bar we love so well. Sing the whiff and poofs assembled with their glasses raised on high, and the music of their singing casts a spell. And it goes on. So that's where I learned to sing,
That's really interesting.
other than church.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. I mean, I remember as a child, I was actually raised Jewish, so
Uh-huh.
the idea of having, English thrown at me, and then by, 6 or 7 years old, learning
Mm-hmm.
Hebrew, learning all the different songs, all the different melodies, it was an adjustment. I mean, I had a learning disability as well, and so
Mm-hmm.
being able to diversify myself and learn multiple languages.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of the songs we sang were really good.
Yeah.
They
And
were interesting.
complex too.
Yes, very complex. Believe
Yeah.
me. Um, you mentioned that you felt like you were in music forever.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think it would be forever?
I didn't think so. Well, I did early on, especially singing in the musicals. And then when I went off to college, I sang, and then I also played the double bass. I studied that instrument as my instrument, but I thought, am I always going to be in music? And to this day, I'm still in music. I just have changed course with it.
Hmm.
I took a detour, so to speak, because I became a nurse. And that's a story in and of itself too.
Right. That's a very interesting take. I don't think much of it, but we're so caught up in the idea that
Mm-hmm.
we work one job, we're going to be there forever, and
And you're not.
with you, that's not the case.
Nope,
Not
this
the
was
case.
not the case.
You mentioned that you've taught in both Washington, D.C., Illinois. What did that teach you about people?
Oh goodness. Well, I started my teaching in student teaching in Minnesota, teaching band and orchestra with the very first band director, female band director in the state of Minnesota. And so I was gifted that opportunity, and went forward then and taught and sang. And the people in Minnesota, of course, are very different, because you're raised with a very cold winter, and and then the Chicago area also cold, also snow. And DC was in the elementary school, and I'll never forget. I parked my little Volkswagen outside the elementary school where I was teaching, and this young man came up to me and he said, "I'll wash your car for you." And I said, "I don't need a wash." It was the dialect of wash versus watch. And he was going to watch my car for me so that nothing would happen to it. And I
Hmm.
said, "But it's a Volkswagen. Who's going to take care of it?" No, it's not going to matter. But it was different. It was different teaching. A lot of the students that I had were students from the military, because we were near Andrews Air Force Base at the time.
Interesting.
And so the diversity of people from different places and different times is just fascinating, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds like, for me, growing up in Massachusetts, the pace,
Hmm.
even in school, seems like it's a little bit more faster up north than it is down here. I mean,
Hmm.
obviously the school schedules are different, things like that, but more importantly, it's like we used to come down here on, winter break, February vacation, and
Hmm.
my parents' best friends that we would stay with, their kids would still be in school, and it's like, wait a minute, you guys don't have a April break, you guys don't have a February
Yeah.
vacation. What is this? What is this nonsense? So I can definitely see a change of pace going
Hmm.
from one area of the country to another for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then I lived in Mississippi too.
Mm.
So, and that's very different pace, but it was all very interesting.
Oh,
And music kind of transcends the life, because you have music that's indigenous to the area in which you're living. There's the hymns when you're in church. The hymns are different from one denomination to another. Some are the same, some are different. So it's music and living in different places just transcends life.
yeah. I mean, I'll bring up Hebrew school even for a second
Hmm.
again. Seeing the different types of Hebrew schools, Orthodox, or I forget the word, Orthodox, and um, Can't think of it.
That's okay.
Non-Orthodox. Just seeing the difference
Uh-huh.
of those kinds of temples from up north to down here. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people play guitars in temple, and the temple that I was raised in never had music like that.
Yeah.
So to be able to see the different cultures is really cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
We will be right back with Behind the Brand. I'm here with Margaret. Margaret, you've been gracious enough to tell us a little bit about your life. You want to kind of recap, what you've done with your career up until this point? We talked about music. We talked about a little bit of nursing.
Yeah.
You know,
Um, a family member of mine said, "You've just done so many things. How come? Can't you stay in one job?" And I go, "But jobs aren't interesting. You can go in different directions. You can touch people in different ways. It's very interesting. It's part of being a servant. It's part of understanding and listen and just be part of who you are and at the time of what it is that is needed." So there's people change habits, and things that happen to them influence how they um, how they see the life and what's happening with their life as it goes forward.
perfect. So looking back on your music
Mhm.
career, do you think it was more about the performance or the connection?
For me, it's the connection, the joyfulness of some of the songs, the funniness of some of um, the musicals. I'm thinking Oklahoma or some of the other ones that were long ago and far away. But for me, music is part of it is the performance. That's true. You want it to be good, you want your voice to sound good, but it's also the connection of people. And when I sing a funeral, as Saturday I sang for a funeral, and the music was No More Night, No More Pain. And it's about the fact that the Lord gives us space to, as we transcend from our earthly home to our heavenly home, that there will be no more night and there will be no more pain. And that the words and the tone, the music that it was there, I had all I could do not to have tears come to my eyes. So music can be fun, it can be laughter, and yet it can be touching and just touch the spirit of who you are.
Yeah. I mean, I remember growing up in high school, there was I'm more into rock and roll than I guess, hymns or
Mm-hmm.
gospel music, classical music even.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked to like Blink 182 or ska punk, which has got all different elements of
And I'm like, who
trumpets.
are they?
They have elements of trumpets, for example,
Uh-huh.
in one particular music genre. But every time I hear trumpets, it makes me happy. It makes me want to connect with that more. And, Blink was able, even though they didn't use trumpets in their music, they were able to kind of get me through high school.
Mm-hmm.
Some of I guess the younger crowd might relate to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, music transcends generation,
Mm-hmm.
and lyrics are a big thing now. So I can completely agree that
Yeah.
it's for me, it's about connection.
And just as an aside, when I was playing the double bass, of course that instrument is so huge, but the tonality and the vibration that comes from the instrument itself, you're you're embracing it with everything that you have, and the hands that playing the strings, and it's just that vibration that just sort of soothes the soul.
Yeah, I mean, my
And
grandfather used to play the piano too, and
uh,
I can only imagine
it was
how
great.
much soul and joy he got out of playing the piano for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Um, you know, Pivoting careers obviously isn't easy. It's an
No.
uneasy thing to do, but do you think you would be where you are today without it or with it?
With pivoting from music to nursing, I used to say I could sing the song "Up Your Nose with the Rubber Hose," but no, you don't do that. You just kind of think through it and makes humor in a sad in a crazy sort of way. But I, if I hadn't have gone to nursing school and pivoted to that career and service, I'd probably be retiring from teaching. I would still be a music teacher. And I loved it. I loved being a music teacher and teaching the diversity of children from kindergarten to high school. It was great fun. And but now it just went in a different direction. Nursing was my God call.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it before the show. You know, it's never too late to pivot. It's never too late to switch careers.
That's right. That's what I tell some students. They'll say, "Oh, yes, I'm majoring in," and I say, "Be open to something else. You never know what might come along."
Absolutely.
So,
You said that you mostly worked in rehab. What did that environment teach you about resilience?
the people that I took care of in rehab, I was in a MS and stroke unit, and there were people that had they were up and resilient in their own life and doing their own thing, and then the MS or the stroke hit them, and they found they couldn't walk again, or they couldn't do something. The stroke was one side of their body might be paralyzed, and so that taught me, along with my brother and what he went through in his transition from being 19 and unable to do really much of anything. Um, it just taught me to trust in the challenge. It's okay to be challenged. It's okay to fail, even though it's not failure. It's maybe just setting a different expectation for yourself. But he learned to drive a car. He graduated from college, had his own business, learned to drive a car, my niece is a brilliant woman with business and acumen, and my sister-in-law raised her to be an Olympic swimmer. So he took his love of swimming and it went into um, with my niece. And so it's not about failure, it's about redefining. So sometimes you just have to redefine who you are and look at it a little bit differently.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, that's amazing, actually. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to think that he never gave up is really what he stood for. You
Yeah.
know, don't let something traumatic affect you. You know, you want to move on, you want to move forward, and he
Mm-hmm.
definitely defied all the odds doing so.
The song "The Wind Beneath My Wings" is very special to me because that he was the wind beneath my wings. He supported me when I not physically and financially, but he supported me internally when I was going through nursing school and transitioning into being a nurse and everything else that I did. He was the wind beneath my wings.
That's beautiful. Very beautiful.
Thank you.
Do you see nursing as another form of music, or do you think it's serving people differently?
It's just serving people differently. When I was pregnant with my daughter and teaching music in DC, during the summertime before she was born, I was teaching at a camp for disabled children. And music was I wasn't even thinking of being a nurse at that point, but music was part of their curriculum and learning different elements of music. So even though this one little boy didn't have any arms or hands, but he had a stick in his mouth and he played the xylophone by bobbing his head. And it was hilarious, but it was just so heartwarming because he took what he didn't have and made it something he could have.
That's amazing.
And it was an amazing time. So resilience is just stepping out of your comfort zone and getting to be a little bit stronger and just moving on.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, the hardest thing for people, I feel like these days, is to move on from it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you've shown us today that resilience is everything. It really is.
Thank you.
You're still singing at the church,
I
correct?
am.
That's awesome. What does it mean to you now?
Um, I think for me, it's the variety of music. We sing everything from classical to the hymns. When I was singing with the large group in Illinois, the Elgin Master Chorale, we were singing classical, larger works of music that were absolutely beautiful. And so, singing in church and in a large group are it's just part of expansion of my talents and the love of music that I have.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So,
I mean, for me, one of the biggest things I've adjusted to as an adult, granted, I have not gone to temple since I moved to Florida. I've been in Florida now 10 years. But before I left, I was trying to go to Hebrew school again and teach myself, more about the culture and things like that. And
mm-hmm.
as I grew older, I realized that there was one prayer that stuck out to me that really hit hard, and that's Mourner's Kaddish. You say it, 4 or 5 times a service, and every time I hear that, I just think of my grandmother and my grandmother, between my grandfather and my grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
because I lost them both at kind of a young age. I lost my grandmother over on my dad's side when I was 8.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather, his dad, when I was 13. So being able to adjust to that and really kind of understand music a little bit more in the hymns, in this case, in the prayer a lot more, it definitely hit harder as an adult.
Yeah, it does, because there was many of us that grew up with church music or temple music or wherever it was, that it becomes a fiber of our essence. And no matter if you are active in expressing that or if you have it on hold for a minute, then you can, redefine that.
Absolutely. So with that being said, after decades of service, is your definition of purpose changed at all, or is it about the same?
Well, as I get more gray hair, even though it's a lot of gray right now, um, I've aged and experienced exchanges of dialogue with many individuals. And so my definition of purpose is I continue to listen with purpose and to be open to hearing differences of opinion and not be judgmental, but just to be loving and kind.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I think, keeping at least one eye open when speaking,
Mm-hmm.
to whomever, doesn't matter if it's your partner, your spouse,
Mm-hmm.
a new colleague, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I think that as long as you keep an open mind, you'll be okay.
Yep.
We will be right back with Behind the Brand. Going back into nursing a little bit, you
Mm-hmm.
said you served for 45 years.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think most people regret towards the end of their life?
That there's it just runs the gamut. Some people, they can't express because they've had a brain injury or something, or they cannot express what their regret is.
Mm-hmm.
Others are very verbose about, and will go on for a long period of time and tell you what they regret. But the commonality is that they don't regret. Well, some people will regret spending their money, or I haven't taken a cruise, or I haven't taken this trip, or whatever. But it's what they've done with their money. They might not have a lot, but they've shared from their essence of who they are. And so, as I've listened to stories from those that I'm in the last moments with, and I have sat and held hands with many as they've transitioned from our earthly home to their heavenly home. It's just about letting them express what they have in their heart still, and what do they want to leave as a final thought. And many of us in the age category where I am, as I turn 80, I want to make sure that my children hear how much I love them.
That's very powerful.
And so even though differences might be there, it's okay.
Right. No, that's a beautiful response. I mean, for me, seeing all of the hard work that my grandfather went through, he was a World War II veteran, somehow I always say, snuck 6 months out of the Israeli Defense Forces. But he was a man of his word. He donated a lot of money, a lot of time to a lot of different organizations. My grandmother was a social worker, and I do sometimes wonder if she regretted not telling my father about what she saw and what she heard or what she did, because that was more or less a silent era. We didn't really see that, many stories coming out. We're just now, as society moves forward with learning about the Holocaust and what happened, there are so many still surviving from it, or descendants of the survivors that still don't know what truly happened. I mean, it's remarkable that it was very kept quiet.
It was. And there are still some that lived through the Vietnam era that don't want to express their sadness at not being recognized for their service. And there's many that are in service of our country today that are, sometimes they're afraid to say that they are military. But as one young man last week said very quietly to me, he said, well, I'm graduating in this summer. He said, but then I'm going into the military. And I wanted to hug him, but I couldn't do that. So I shook his hand. I took both of his hands in mine, and I said, God love you, God bless you, and thank you for believing in your role in saving our country and protecting us. So no matter where he is, I hope he remembers that some old lady told him that.
That's awesome. No, I mean, everything that you do, for those that don't know, like I said, Margaret and I connected at Let's Connect in Bradenton. I think that every time you come into that room, you just brighten everybody's day. You have many stories, some of which we won't talk about today, but I mean, if you haven't done a one-on-one with Margaret or had a chance to talk to Margaret, I highly recommend it.
Oh, thank you, Matt. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the time.
No, thank you.
And thank you, Cassie, for taking the baton as I pass the 45 years to you.
Thank you. Well, we'll be right back with Behind the Brand.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Behind the Brand. I'm here with Margaret. We've gotten to know Margaret a little bit. She, of course, studied music with a double bass at Hamline University. She's taught students from Washington, D.C. and Illinois. She also is in the Baycare Health System, and she also sings at a local church here in Bradenton. Welcome back, Margaret.
Thank you, Matt.
Today has been really fun, really exciting getting to know you and your story, of course. And it's crazy that it's never too late to pivot careers.
You just never know.
You don't.
Because I pivoted again.
Yes. Keep pivoting. We should throw up that meme from what's that show? Friends.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Pivot. All right. So I've got a few more questions to ask Margaret today. How do you pass down resilience and faith to the next generation?
Oh, I think I'm still trying to figure that out. Just by living my life. There's no other way to define it. Sometimes it's doing something and loving it and then sharing it with others and talking about it and getting other people enthused about doing something and stepping out of their comfort zone. So I guess last year I was visiting my son and grandsons in Washington State, and I wanted to go rock climbing. Well, I didn't. They
Why
kept me
not?
from it. Well, my knees are not very good right now, but so I didn't. But I really wanted to. I really wanted. That was a challenge. That was a physical challenge for
Hmm.
me, was to try rock climbing. So as I approach some different things, I put that in my brainstem and say, "This is my rock climbing." So
Perfect.
it's passing on sometimes what it is that might seem uncomfortable or unattainable, but have it be your rock climbing.
That's
Just,
wonderful. That's a wonderful analogy. I mean, I think that we're so caught up in our day to day
mhm.
that we really forget about, what can I leave as my legacy? And that kind of ties into our final question today. What does legacy mean to you?
Legacy to me is not about how much money I've had, the diplomas on the wall. It's about, for me, it's who have I served? Who have I touched? Some people can look down the street and say, well, I built these houses. Well, that's great. I'm glad you built the houses. My house is the person that is in the house. And how have I touched that person? Or um, how have I made their world better? What have I done to help them? And I take the house builder out of the picture because it's you who stand in the power of who you are. And so it's just about being the rock climber, being um, the person in the house rather than the builder.
That's a beautiful response.
Thank you.
I mean, to be able to, serve and protect your family. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's really, we put it all on the line for our kids, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes our kids, I feel like, when they reach a certain age, they'll slowly understand it. I mean, those that know, I have a 3-year-old and a 3-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter. The 12-year-old's slowly coming around, but at the same time, I think that as she gets older and wiser and of age, essentially, she'll really understand what I've been able to do to
Mm-hmm.
help develop her and to help her grow.
And my grandchildren, I love each and every one of them.
That's wonderful.
There's one that's a teacher, another that's in the Peace Corps in Guatemala. The boys are still redefining who they are at 15 and 13 and 10, but they're following in their mom and dad's footsteps and being beautiful children of service.
Awesome. Well, Margaret, I do appreciate your
Thank
time
you.
today.
And I yours. Thank you, Nick.
Yes, thank you. If you want to be on Behind the Brand, just let me know. Shoot me a message, shoot me a call. Thank you.
Thank you.